Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, the people's channel, where our goal is to help you find financial freedom through crypto assets. This is Around the Blockchain, and my name is Frankie Candles. I'm going to be your host today on Around the Blockchain. We cover all your favorite crypto topics with your favorite guests, and today we have quite the A-team here. We've got, let's start in the bottom left. We have Joe Parries. What is going on, Joe? Thank you for being with us today. And then in the top left, we have Max Wright. Welcome to the show, Max.
Hey,
happy to have you.
Thanks for having me.
On the top right, we have a channel favorite, Debate Crypto. We got the Blockchain Crusader. Welcome to the show, man. And last but very much not least, AJ Pleasington. What is going on, man? First ATB appearance, I believe. Gonna crush.
What's up, Frankie? How you doing?
Pretty good.
I'm gonna try.
Let's do it. I got all the faith in the world with you, man. Today we are covering some great topics. We got crypto outflows hitting all-time highs or lows, I guess, however you want to look at it. And then we have BlockFi's loan. Very interesting story there. And then even more interesting than that, we got some interesting stuff happening in China. Going to take a look at that and see, is it possible that some of the stuff happening in China could leak into America? We'll take a look at it. We'll see what our expert guests think about it. But before we get into it, guys, let's jump in and do a little market watch here as our black and white plane flies around that earth. Taking a look here, we've got Bitcoin coming in at 20,878. Not too bad, seeing some green candles here on Bitcoin. It's been a little while since we've seen these. Ethereum coming in at $1,123. Let's go ahead and check our top gainers for once, because we've been checking our top losers. But top gainers, Waves making absolute, making waves here with up 40% on the day. We got Shiba Inu up 31% on the day. Zilliqa up 21% on the day. Aave up 13%. Uniswap up 12.5%. And we've got HOT up 12%. So guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our first topic. Crypto assets under management at the lowest levels since February 2021. Now, I think I'm going to throw this to, let's throw it to, where are my questions here? We're going to throw it to you, Joe, first. With, a lot of lows being made with the outflows here. We did see a nice pump on Bitcoin here recently. What are the charts saying? Are you looking at anything on the charts? Because you're seeing outflows come out, but we're getting a pump. What are the charts saying? We're coming down lower. Are we going to get a nice little relief pump? What are you seeing?
Well, thanks, Frankie, for having me back on the show, Bit Squad. Smash up that like button. Bitcoin and the entire cryptocurrency market need it more than ever. But what I'm seeing in the charts, and I'm not Mr. Frankie Candles here by any means, but if I'm going with a gut feel, we could be in store for a little bit more of a relief rally, but ultimately the trend is your friend until the end, right? And I am not seeing a whole lot of other indicators pointing to, bullish, right? We are most likely going to be continuing sliding downwards. And Kevin O'Leary said something really interesting. He said that we're looking for some sort of mass liquidation, and maybe we're starting to have that with Celsius and a lot of these other companies, but to me personally, we haven't seen that big wipeout where we kind of like our mouth hits the ground and goes, oh my gosh, Bitcoin is really that low. We've been teasing ourselves a little bit here a few times, but ultimately to me, if I'm looking at the charts, I looked at the rainbow yesterday, and according to the rainbow, it says right now we're in the blue, which is Bitcoin's basically on a fire sale. So this is historic times because we're doing things that we've never seen done before. And it's really interesting to see what's going to happen next with the entire market. But if I'm being honest, I see both sides of the coin here. I think that, yes, we could go up, but also we still need to be cautious with everything that's happening in the world today. Not financial advice, just my take on the charts.
Love it. I would actually agree with that, right? You don't want to be too confident in either direction. You want to be able to understand that it could go up, it could go down, which I know a lot of people don't like to hear, but it is the reality of things. So thank you for that, Joe. Now with the outflows, with the assets under management down about 59% from the November 2021 highs. I'm gonna throw it to we're gonna throw it to Debate Crypto. You are up next. Now, with this number of outflows taking place, do you think this is an overreaction, or do you think this is like a step in the right direction given the market conditions currently?
So I just want to start off with thank you for having me back on the show, guys. Great being here. Smash up the likes. But yeah, the outflows, right? Things are coming down. The prices coming down, and people are overreacting, right? We see just how we see FOMO. We see a lot of FUD as well, and people start to overreact. And it's natural for it to happen. The cycles still occur. There was a matter of time before we had a massive bear market actually occur. We've been having a slow bleed for a long time, and now it looks like somebody ripped the band-aid and we started to drop heavily. But fundamentally, nothing's changed for Bitcoin, right? The adoption still continues, the innovation continues for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So even though right now the asset price is down, the fundamentals are only getting better and better with time.
Love it. Thank you for that. Blockchain Crusader. We appreciate it. Now, I'm going to throw it to you, AJ. I know a lot of people have a target of about $14,000. People not thinking that this, 17.6, I know it hit a bunch of different numbers on different exchanges, but a lot of people don't think this is the bottom. They think there could be a lot more downward pressure. So my question to you, AJ, is do you see more downward momentum, or do you think we've kind of hit a bottom here?
First of all, Frank, thanks for having me on the show.
Of course.
I completely see more downward pressure in the cards. Right now, this moment right here, right now, looking at the 10-minute chart, we're in like an upward channel, and it's kind of bouncing off. The RSI is popping. We're going to head up for a little while. But considering the Fed with the interest rate, we just had a 75 basis point hike, and there's several more meetings coming this week, not coming this year, and the next one starts July 26th, I believe, and that's going to hold us down. Like I don't have an exact price point in mind, but we're going to lose the 20K in my book. You can torch me in the comments if you want to, but I don't want to see, like, it's inevitable. It's inevitable, and like crypto is built off max pain. That's no secret. And, we're starting to see the ugly side of the bear market, and it's going to take time for this to come around. And I just want people to use caution and to implement good risk management, because it's good to like day trade and like intra-hour trades and like catch those little like half-hour long trades with leverage. Like right now, like would probably be a good time to long this second. But, once that runs up and it bounces back down in the channel, you want to jump in, you want to jump right out in the same hour.
I love it. If anybody watches my channel, I'm a big advocate for jumping in, grabbing your bag, and jumping right out. Now, Max, I'm going to throw it to you. Now, I know a lot of people are blaming the Fed rate hikes for this current market environment that we're in right now, at least in crypto. And do you agree with this, or do you kind of think this is just kind of the story that Bitcoin tells in the 4-year cycles, or would you go ahead and agree with them and blame it on the Fed rate hikes?
Yeah, well, more broadly, let's call it the macro conditions. So it's really, really important to understand, guys, that Bitcoin was created in 2009. It's never seen a recession. It's never seen a proper bubble burst. It's had its bubble burst several times, 2013, 2017. We know the history, but it's always existed in good times. And I believe, we're at the peak of the everything bubble. The macroeconomics are nothing short of absolutely horrific right across the board. So I agree with AJ. There's plenty more pain for the crypto markets in the near future. Well, having said that, in the medium and long-term future, I would say, long-term, I'm very, very bullish on crypto. Medium term, I think we're going down below 20 for sure. Probably we'll get to 10. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get a summer rally here. I think that we came down really fast, really quickly. Remember, Bitcoin follows the indices, follows the markets generally, and those markets came down very quickly too. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of a summer rally, and I want to prepare everybody. You're going to be seeing on YouTube, you're going to be seeing on pundits, if we get Bitcoin back up to 25 and 28, and I'm not saying it's definitely going there, but if we get a summer rally, we get up to 25, you're going to hear all the pundits come out, all your favorite people are going to come out and say Bitcoin's going to the moon, the bottom's in, we're ready to rock and roll. And just then it's going to cut back down and be pretty vicious. So remember, you can't spell crypto without cry. So there's got to be a lot of crying in our future. You've got to put your big boy pants on to play this game. And if you want to ride the big times, you've got to know about the bad times. So it can get really, really bad. I think we're going, we might get a summer rally here, but we are going down lower. And I do want to talk about the outflows just a little bit. I mean, these guys write articles, right? They need headlines. And you hear things like, 60+% down in the AUM and these big outflows. And they put that in the same sentence. And it kind of sounds a little bit confusing. But the reality is the assets under management went down by this huge percentage because the value of the assets went down since, the time frame they reference. So, a huge chunk of that is actually just, the value of the cryptocurrencies that the funds hold going down. The amount of outflows that came out, while not insignificant, is pretty proportional for this big, this pretty devastating market that we've had the last couple of weeks and even months. So I think it's kind of par for the course. But the rainbow charts and the regression algorithms and all those kinds of things, we're going to see a lot worse than we've ever seen because Bitcoin's only existed in a very good market prior to now.
I absolutely love that answer, Max. I talk about on my channel a lot. A lot of people ask me, where do you think the bottom is? And I tell them, listen, like you just said, you have to understand that Bitcoin has never seen a recession. It's only existed, even though it's had bear markets, it's only existed in bear markets in a macroeconomic, bull run, essentially. So this would be the first recession for Bitcoin. So I would go ahead and tend to agree with you there. But with all that being said, guys, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. BlockFi secures a $250 million bailout loan from FTX. Now, I kind of like this story. It kind of speaks to the crypto community, I think, personally. I just love that. Crypto's a very tight-knit community. We all like to help each other. We're all like-minded people. And it's just almost like we got BlockFi just, reaching out like, hey, I need a hand from my crypto friend. And FTX was there to, to lend that helping hand. So first, I'm going to throw it to you, Joe. Now, with some of these biggest crypto companies, struggling lately, we have Coinbase laying people off in, obviously a rapid rate. A lot of this, it's happening to a lot of these crypto companies. Do you think this could be the beginning of the end for some of these companies, or you think it's just a little hiccup, a little bear market, hiccup?
Well, I hope for everybody's sake who's invested in any of these companies or has lent their crypto that it's not the end for all of these companies, right? And I think that, between Coinbase, Celsius, and all these other companies, I think that what we're seeing is that they're playing with our money and they're risking our money a lot riskier than we thought maybe they were doing, right? And the thing with Celsius freezing the funds and everything happening, it's just having a trickle-down effect for all the other companies that are doing something very similarly, right? So you look at BlockFi right now, they need a $250 million loan, and they're laying off people. For me personally, the first thing that I did as soon as Celsius froze all their accounts, I had a little bit of money into Nexo and a couple of these other projects. I got my money out of there as soon as I could, right? And that's just because, again, you got to really understand the risk rewards with these, different projects, and also like what their whole business model is. And if they're in need of this amount of money and they need a lot of money, that tells me something about the company as well, right? Like if a company is doing really, really well, typically, they're flush with cash and they're hiring, right? They're not, laying people off. They're not, hey, can you bail us out, right? So, please be very careful with a lot of these companies. I'm not trying to FUD it. I'm not saying that it's all going to go to zero. But what I am saying is like this is a leading indicator, right? That like something is maybe, if the market continues to keep going down, who knows what could happen to these companies? And if they are insolvent, your coins are at risk, right? Not your keys, not your coins. So, please make sure that you understand the risks involved with crypto, and you really got to educate yourself. I think that's the biggest thing that I think this space is really here to and needs more help with, and that's why we're all here on this channel, is to really educate and to learn, because somebody says, oh, BlockFi, Celsius, just put your coins on there, you earn interest. And then all of a sudden they get frozen, or you don't understand that you're basically giving up your entire cryptocurrency and they can do whatever they want with it. And if they're, going crazy with it and leveraging it like crazy and they get liquidated, it's gone. Something to definitely pay attention to.
Absolutely. Yeah, not your keys, not your crypto. We were kind of talking about that on the morning stream today. Also, not your keys, not your cash. That will make sense in our next topic. But yeah, not your keys, not your crypto, guys. Very, very important to realize. So I absolutely love that. Now, I do know Sam Bankman-Fried said that he mentioned that FTX has a responsibility to bail out other companies during this relentless bear market. So again, just kind of a tribute to this crypto community. It really is a beautiful place. But with that being said, coming to you, Debate Crypto, do you think how do you feel about, these companies getting bailed out? Do you think they should be able to get bailed out, or do you think it's, you think the free market should kind of decide who, what companies survive and which ones die out?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, like Joe was saying, right, for the people, I would hope that these companies do get bailed out so that people don't get screwed over long term. But as a company, if they didn't manage their funds right, they didn't manage what was going to happen in the cycles of crypto. They didn't understand what they were getting into, and they had mismanagement, bad leadership within the company. Then yes, the free market should take over. And if the company doesn't do well, see you later. And have another company come in that can actually do it the right way so that it can be sustainable, right? Because now we're getting to this habit of bailouts, just like in the traditional system in 2008, right? And bailing out, and then these companies get too big to fail. And when we see cryptocurrency market once again in the next cycle, the next failures continue, and they continue depending on bailouts. The market's going to get hit harder and harder every single time because these companies that are too big to fail in the crypto space are asking for bailouts. And that is a vicious cycle that the cryptocurrency market should learn from the traditional system to not make a habit of, and let the free markets, really control the companies. And these companies need to go away if they can't do it the right way.
I would go ahead and agree with that, actually. If they can't survive, it might be better that they don't, So I definitely agree with that. I'm gonna give you one more point for that debate crypto. Now, so AJ, I'm gonna throw it to you now. With I know BlockFi has hinted to possible future collaborations down the road. Do you think this is part of the loan deal, or do you think this is kind of just a little bit of hopium? Just a collaboration between BlockFi and FTX.
Well, I feel like a collaboration would definitely help their cause. I mean, we're talking about a company that had to pay a $100 million fee to the SEC. So they need all the help they can get. It's kind of like when a band signs onto a record label, like people are more likely to listen to that band because they made it on that label. So it's like they want to affiliate themselves like with the biggest names they can so they like survive. I feel like Joe should have got 100 points for what he said, because this is about education and this is about people being smart with their decisions. And like, as much as I don't like to see the bailout, I would not want to see what happened to Celsius happen to BlockFi, because that just gives the regulators more excuses to put the iron foot on the neck. And like what's going to happen if it happens to BlockFi, it happens to Voyager, it happens to whoever, like it's just going to keep happening and happening. And like and I agree with debate crypto too, because like we want the strongest companies to survive, like Darwinism and crypto, but we also don't want to see them drop like flies because it's a bad look. And the regulators see that, and like Gary Gensler and all them are just waiting for another excuse for something bad to happen, because like that's just the way they roll, and that's the game. You know what I mean? I mean, that's how I feel.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Now, throwing it to you, Max. So do you think Sam Bankman-Fried, we'll put our conspiracy theory hats on here for a second. Do you think Sam Bankman-Fried kind of has a plan for this, or do you think this loan was truly out of the goodness of his heart trying to help other crypto companies because he knows how brutal the bear market can be?
Yeah, I certainly hope there's a plan there, because I think that's like really, really crazy. Like agreeing with everyone else here on the panel, the bailout concept is like just provenly flawed, and it's got us in this horrific disaster we are with the whole macroeconomic situation with the rest of the market. So, and that's kind of the double-edged sword with these guys, right? We want institutional money to come in. We want these, these big brains in. The problem is they bring their old way of thinking with them, and if they come in and start bailing each other out, it's a really, really bad idea. So I hope and suspect that there's a little something more to this. And like I want to be cautious here, because we don't really know the ins and outs of the deal. Was it an unsecured loan, an uncollateralized loan? We don't actually know the terms of the loan. At least I don't know. Maybe you guys have more access to information than I do, but I don't. So a couple points here. One, the firing of staff and the raising of capital to survive a downturn is really, really prudent behavior for founders. All right. When the crypto economy is growing, you want to heavily invest in staff, grow your workforce, and grab as many of those new people as possible. And then when you're going to go into a bear market, you're expecting that those downtimes to happen. You want to raise capital to make sure you can get through it, and you want to lay off your workforce, again extending your time horizon, giving you a little bit more leeway to survive the downtimes to make sure you're going to be around for the good times. So best case scenario, this is a really prudent, smart strategy by the founding team. Worst case scenario, and it couldn't have come at a worse timing, right off the back of Celsius. If you know the company that's in the same business as Celsius, remember these guys are in competition with Celsius, so they're all pushing each other to the limits, trying to generate as much yield as possible, so they can advertise to their customers. Come and give us your money. We can give you a higher percentage. And so, if Celsius got itself in trouble, it's extremely possible that BlockFi got themselves in trouble. And so now, if I'm an investor, as much as I hope it's prudent, I'm like, man, I'm out of there. Not your keys, not your crypto. Get my shit out of there if I was in there to start with. But I haven't invested in any of these things for that exact reason from the very beginning, because the depth of a downside market that the crypto can do is just vicious. And these guys come from Wall Street, and it doesn't always fit their models. I mean, they can do the math. They've seen the historic price chart before, but it's very different once you live it. And so really owning that is a little bit of a challenge.
Absolutely. A lot of good points there. Now, moving on to our next topic here. China's financial sector is on the brink of absolute chaos with customers of three banks, or three rural banks in China, unable to get their funds out of the bank. I looked a little further into this story. There's stories of ATMs being blocked off. They can't use the ATMs. I know they are using their health tracking app that they use in China to track that crazy virus that we all know about. They are using that to essentially red flag these people and get them away from public areas, trying to break up these big crowds forming outside of the banks. Very, very crazy stuff. Now, I'm going to start off with you, Joe, going straight to you. Are the issues we're seeing in China right now, do you think that this is kind of signs of something that could leak into the United States, from China? Seeing it happen in China is kind of a scary thing. Do you think it's possible that could leak over into America, or no?
I mean, I think anything right now is possible, right? But the truth is that, like, we've seen, this happen with the war in Russia, right? People in Ukraine had their, funds, and they could only withdraw like 3,000. Now there's more funds being, frozen. And this is what crypto was designed to do, right? Crypto was designed to give the power back to the people. You're in control of your own money, and you can do what you want with it when you want to do with it, right? And so, to me, seeing this again is another reason to get into crypto, right? It's like another, all right, if you're not into crypto yet, here is another warning sign that, look, the governments are going to act in their best interests first, right? If they need money, they're going to do what they want to do. They want to control as much as they want to control, and they want to keep you, ignorant towards what's really happening behind the scenes, right? It's like something probably bigger happened here than just, oh yeah, we're just freezing, or they can't get a hold of $178 million worth of funds, and now people are rioting on the streets. And so, look, the truth is anything can happen at any time. And so you really, not financial advice here, but the diversification is ultimately going to help you through these really tough times, right? Like, that to me is absolutely essential, whether it's crypto, real estate, stocks, cash. Diversification is everything, because in case something like this does happen, it's like, okay, well, I have cryptocurrency. Great. I have a house as an asset, right? I have a lot of other sources of income where, I got money always coming in. I have my investments, and that's what you're really looking for, is cash flow, right? And so it's becoming harder and harder with crypto to find that cash flow. There are still some of them out there, but to me, this is something that I think is serious. I think people really need to take a harder look at this and to really start taking more responsibility for their own lives, and not just relying solely on the government to take care of everything, because we're seeing here more and more, they have full control, and that's never, if you're sitting there on the side of the street begging for your money, if you can take action and not be in that situation, I think that would most likely be, ideal, more ideal, should I say.
Absolutely. You might be sitting there begging for your money back for quite some time. Now, Debate Crypto, throwing it right to you. Now, where are you looking for, more possible global economical threats, right? I know we have the Taiwan with a war being a strong possibility. What are some other macroeconomical things that you think could put pressure on our economy?
Dude, I mean, the economy and macroeconomics, right? The whole situation with Russia and Ukraine, people are becoming numb to it, right? Just how we became numb to the Afghanistan situation. But that's really going to cause massive problems with food supplies, food shortages, and we're definitely going to be seeing more and more stuff like that happening. And people don't understand that China also announced that they were not going to be exporting fertilizer. They're one of the largest fertilizer exporters around the world. Ukraine is one of the largest exporters of wheat. And with this situation between Russia, Ukraine, China making these announcements, the prices of gas and diesel continuing to go higher. There's going to be less and less things happening in the supply chain. Supply chains have been under strains all the way since 2020, before the fog around the world started, and now it's only gotten worse. People forget the supply chains have not been fixed, and these issues with wheat and fertilizer are definitely going to cause more problems in macroeconomics, because we can try to make as much money as we want in all the markets, but people need to eat. And when food prices continue to go higher and higher, and there's less and less food on shelves, people definitely need to focus on this and prepare for worst case scenarios. And to a point that Joe was making about the question you asked for Joe, the surveillance state is growing more and more every single day. Here in the States, around the world, we saw what Edward Snowden released back in the day, the kind of things that they were doing already when it came to surveillance that was practically illegal. That was many years ago already. How much has that grown since then? Right. We've also seen the transition in cryptocurrencies as an escape from that. But what are we seeing in the cryptocurrency market now? Right? Celsius, BlockFi, places where we can put our money into these institutions so that they can promise us more APY, more money, right? And people quickly give up custody of their crypto and forget about the crypto revolution of being a self bank and having self custody just to make a few more percents. And we're falling right back into the trap of the traditional system where we don't control our money, they do, and we have tons of issues from it. So people need to be always aware to keep self custody. And I believe Joe said it earlier too, and AJ and everyone else in the panel, about being aware of risk versus reward when it comes to putting your money and when I say money, I say cryptocurrencies in these institutional platforms, because people are losing their money and these companies are starting to fail. And then people like us are losing our money, getting stuck on these platforms. So it's always risk versus reward. Self custody should always be priority.
Absolutely. And always remember, guys, don't invest money you're not willing to lose. But I do think you made a really good point about people being numb. It does seem that, we kind of don't really attach ourselves to things happening around the world unless it's happening right in front of us or we're not physically feeling the effects. But now we are starting to feel some of the effects 100%. Of this stuff as, CPI numbers have come up. Groceries are more expensive. Gas prices are going through the roof. So I think the fact that you made that point that a lot of people feel numb, unless it's, hitting them close to home. I love that you made that point. Now, throwing it over to you, AJ. Now, what would you say the likelihood of something like China's bank run, as a lot of people are calling it, what do you think the chances of something like that happening in the United States would be?
Well, seeing it happen in China to a bank is kind of like, we're supposed to trust the banks. And that is even more of a reason to go into crypto. And like, I don't really know all the details on like how big the bank was and all that. But I do know that there's people on the streets holding signs that want their money back, and it just feels like an episode of Black Mirror. And we all know how all those episodes end. And it's messed up that like the media and the regulators like kind of want to villainize crypto at the same time the dollar is being devalued. And it's like, I wouldn't be surprised, because like if the mass adaptation of crypto took over, this would happen to the banks. It would happen within years, maybe even less than that. And they don't want that to happen, because the third-party intermediaries are what line their pockets, and the legacy system has to stand strong for these people to stay in power. And one thing people don't ever want to lose is power. And so they're going to do basically anything they can to prevent like what we all think crypto is capable of becoming, they don't want that, because then the banks would fail like clockwork. So when you see like Celsius falling off and all this kind of stuff, like they're going to use all this as examples of why crypto won't work. They're going to throw an environmental FUD. They're going to throw everything they can at the wall until something sticks with the people, you know. And it's just like, it's frustrating because like the media also villainizes China. Like when most people think about China, they like basically are just scared to go to war with them. And the thing with that is that like sometimes it feels like what like our government is doing isn't that much different than what they're doing, and it's super corrupt. Like it's corrupt to the bones, and you just don't want to see us become the villains we're afraid of. And I don't know. It's a deep dive.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, you don't want to turn into what you don't like. No, I agree with that, AJ. Great answer. Now, Max, I'm coming to you with the big kahuna question here. Now the question is, do you think, this is the question on everyone's mind. I know everybody's talking about this looming recession, right? Do you think there is a good possibility that we are headed into a recession, if not already in one?
Yeah, we will find out that we're in a recession pretty soon here. It started earlier in the year. And I remember like 2008, you know, Ben Bernanke was on TV saying there is nothing wrong with the housing market. Everything is fine. And like 6 months later, they revised the data and we were already 5 months into the recession. So we are already in a recession. It just hasn't been announced yet. They haven't formalized it. And you know, there's a lot of things that kind of trigger it. Like in 2008, like looking for a trigger point is almost like it's impossible. In 2008, one of the trigger points was, you know, the stock market crashed in Iceland. And people are all like, Iceland's got a stock market? Like what? We don't know. So looking for the trigger point it won't help you get to like understanding what's going on. The point is everything is so fragile and interconnected. The contagion is just going to be crazy. And so you see something like this happen in China, and maybe this particular issue blows over and maybe it doesn't. But with 100% certainty, I can assure you that it depends on the time frame you're talking about. But at some point, there will be these kinds of issues all over the world. And you see this in very important for people to remember is desperate governments do desperate things, right? And that is why, just to go back to Debate Crypto's point, your sovereignty should be your number one priority. Now, that's a really tricky thing to take into account right now because we're in a situation where, I don't know, if you're like me, you think the price of crypto is going down significantly. But what I'm doing, I don't want to give up my sovereignty. So I actually have my HODL bag over here, and no one can get that. I have the private keys. It's mine no matter what. And over here, with cash, I'm shorting and covering my losses over here. But I never ever want to give up my sovereignty. And that's a reason to balance that out because it's so important to understand. Desperate governments do desperate things. And they are going to do all kinds of crazy things. I wouldn't be surprised if there's bail-ins, more bailouts, you name it, all those kinds of things are coming because the Fed is in a desperate situation. And we all know this. If you spend 15 minutes on YouTube, you know what the predicament they're in, right? They've got to get inflation under control. If they tighten money, if they raise interest rates to achieve that, they are decimating the economy. Stock market goes down, cryptos go down, real estate goes down, everything goes down. And then all of the leverage in this massive bubble starts to unwind. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you end up with a global financial crisis. And they will have either no choice but to either let it die or come in printing again, which is going to trigger the inflation. So I don't know if it goes in the route of bail in or bail out, but in either scenario, the people who will inherit the earth are crypto people. If you've got your Bitcoin stacked high, when that happens, one bail-in a Western country, you see just one, right? Someone goes into Deutsche Bank in Europe, or someone, a Chase Bank here, Wells Fargo, you name it. A major bank anywhere in the Western world, all of a sudden, people are just en masse, customers are getting a haircut on their deposits. You are going to see Bitcoin go absolutely parabolic. And that's the thing that it's a really tricky situation to be in there because until then, there's going to be a fair amount of pain. But once that happens, my goodness, things are just going to take off. And it might even be a situation where it's hard to get your hands on because governments will see the outflows from their system into crypto. They might jump in and try and freeze exchanges and things like that. So it's a really difficult game to play. But at the end of the day, Debate Crypto was spot on. Your sovereignty should be your number one priority.
I absolutely love that. And yeah, I would agree. when stuff does wind up, like you said, when that ball of yarn decides to unwind, seeing, having your Bitcoin stacked high is probably, that is going to be the time where it really does pay off. So absolutely love that answer. And with all that being said, guys, I think that's all the time we have for tonight's show. Checking here, Max, you are our winner. So you got 30 seconds, minute, whatever you got. You got the stage to let the people know whatever you want to say.
Oh, wow. Well, it's just important to stay safe, guys. I think what is really important now is understanding the macro. We love diving deep on Bitcoin, but in order to really understand what's going to happen here over the next 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, is understanding what's going on in the global economy. And actually, BitBoy and I just had a big, long conversation about that a few days ago on my channel. And so getting your head around that, he's got some great advice on that. So keep learning, keep educating yourself. It's the number one thing that you can do. The more you understand about what's happening in the world, the better position you'll be to come out the other end, at the very least, keeping your assets together and your wealth intact, and maybe even growing it, adding a 0 or 2 to your net worth.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to all our guests, guys. Make sure to go follow their socials. All the links are in the description below. And don't forget to smash that like button on the way out. That's all we got time for today. Thanks for tuning in. Frankie Candles out.